Hey everybody, welcome back to BobkeTV. Well, I got a new weekly installment. It's going to be all about the races, the racers, all the gossip, and all the headlines. Also, tweet of the week. See who's beefing on Twitter and the social media. And it's going to be called Bobke's Broom Wagon. Up first, the races. Review of the races, starting with Paris-Nice. I'm going to do these in three segments: the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good from Paris-Nice is gotta be Geraint Thomas, revealing himself so far this season to be a major contender for every stage race on the calendar. Geraint Thomas, a spirited defense of his yellow jersey on the very last day. He was pushed to the limit by Alberto Contador. What can we take away from Geraint Thomas' performance so far this year, and especially in Paris-Nice? His next objective, the next step, contender for the Grand Tour. So Geraint Thomas having a spectacular Paris-Nice and the overall winner. The good from Paris-Nice also, Alberto Contador. He's back on his very best form. Pushed Thomas to the limit, attacking throughout the last stage. Finally got daylight, but Geraint Thomas, chasing throughout the day, kept Contador close enough to win the overall. But Alberto Contador pushed Team Sky and Geraint Thomas to the very limit. Watch for Contador to continue doing that, especially in the Tour de France against Geraint Thomas's teammate, Chris Froome. The good also, Michael Matthews, revealing himself to be more than just a sprinter. Was able to defend the yellow jersey throughout the race week until the penultimate day when Geraint Thomas took over the lead at the top of the La Madone climb to finish off stage number 6. But a great ride by Michael Matthews. He's got to be a contender for all of the one-day classics and maybe the shorter stage races as well. Climbing very well, sprinting great. Michael Matthews had a great start to the season. The bad in Paris-Nice, Team Cannondale. They came in with 2 leaders, Andrew Talansky and Pierre Rolland, which I don't recommend. It's always better, especially in Paris-Nice, when you only have 7 teammates for your team leader. So you're down a guy from the Tour de France, which has 9. To have 2 guys, now you're down to 6 teammates. Then if you have a sprinter, you're down to 5 guys. And it's not possible for that few guys to control the whole peloton for a whole week's racing. They came in with 2, with Pierre Rolland and Andrew Talansky. Andrew Talansky really struggling throughout the week's racing. Dropped out on the penultimate day after a crash, but Pierre Rolland finishing way, way behind the leaders. So Pierre Rolland, not a great Paris-Nice either. Also, Richie Porte, defending champion, now racing for BMC. Little bit under the weather, little illness. He wound up 3rd in the overall standings, but was hoping to win. So not the end of the world for Richie Porte, but hoping for much better from BMC and the defending champion. Fell short of Geraint Thomas and Alberto Contador and finished 3rd. Not horrible for Richie Porte, but certainly not what they were expecting. And now for the ugly. Marcel Kittel came in with 5 wins already. The whole team, the whole Edix team, the most successful team in race wins so far this year, they were built around Kittel for Paris-Nice. Kittel did not deliver. He did not even finish the stage race, dropping out in the mountains and no stage wins. So not a pretty week for Edix and Kittel. And that begs the question, how is he going to fit into the Edix system? Edix, very different than his previous team, Giant Alpecin. Giant Alpecin, very laid-back management style, not nearly as bloodthirsty and competitive and hungry as the Edix squad. So until Marcel Kittel can match his teammates on Edix and mold himself in the way that they prefer their riders to be, because they have so many guys capable of winning races, you have to deliver when you're on Team Edix. So we'll see what Marcel Kittel. It means early in the year, I predicted early in the season, I predicted in the off season that he would have an off year trying to integrate into the Edix system, which is very different from Giant Alpecin. So against the best sprinters against a great field, against Michael Matthews, against Andre Greipel, against Alexander Kristoff, Kittel comes up empty in Paris-Nice. Over to Italy and the Tirreno-Adriatico. These two races coincide for a few days, so Paris-Nice starting and finishing first, Tirreno starting midweek and finishing midweek before Milano-San Remo. That's next weekend. The good over at the Tirreno stage race, Zdeněk Stybar, race leader, stage winner. He's also on Edix, and he attacks at the last possible moment. He won a stage of the Tour de France when it was setting up for a sprint stage. In much the same way, he took over the race lead. Zdeněk Stybar is going to win some huge races in his career. A great contender for the classics, Tour of Flanders, Milano-San Remo, and Paris-Roubaix. And Zdeněk Stybar well on his way to a great season. Also, Fernando Gaviria. I asked everybody to put this young man on your radar, and he won an absolutely spectacular sprint stage at Tirreno. He's also Marcel Kittel's teammate on the Edix squad. And at what point did they start racing for Fernando Gaviria? He sprinted against another young superstar in the sprints, Caleb Ewing, and got the better of him easily. Not easily, I shouldn't say easily, but he was a clear and emphatic winner of the sprint stage of Tirreno-Adriatico. Now the bad and the ugly in Tirreno. Paris-Nice, horrible snow on stage number 3. The riders started the stage. The promoters hoped, the race organizers, ASO, hoped that the snow would stop falling as hard in the hills. That did not happen. The snow kept falling harder and harder throughout the day, and it made the closing miles of the stage number 3 in Paris-Nice impassable. The peloton could not get through there safely, and so the extreme weather protocol put in place this year by the UCI was used to the effect that is desired. Protect the health and safety of the riders. And when there's ice on the road, you cannot ride your bike through that. It's not possible to have a peloton of 150 plus riders go through icy, snowy conditions. The team cars could not even get through the road safely following the peloton in Paris-Nice, so judiciously the race organizers canceled that stage using the UCI's extreme weather protocol. In Tirreno-Adriatico, because perhaps they saw those images, they canceled the stage before it even started, the day before, when snow was falling in the hills. The day before, the Tirreno-Adriatico race promoter already canceled the stage. And so when they got to that the next day, guess what? It was doable. They could have raced through that. And so Vincenzo Nibali took to Twitter to express what he was feeling, especially when Paulos Longo, one of his employees on the Astana team, drove the course and took this video. And this is what Vincenzo Nibali had to say when he saw the footage from the team employee Paulos Longo. L'arrivo di oggi, today's finishing line, today's arrival, the finish of the stage. Il buon senso prevale sempre. Good sense always prevails. Being a little sarcastic there. Dispiace per le persone che amano questo sport. I'm very sad for the people that love the sport of cycling, for this sport. And so those roads were passable. I think the Tirreno organizers called the stage. This is the Queen stage. This is the hardest stage, and when the climbers have a chance against the time trialists to get a time gap. And that's what makes Tirreno such an exciting race. Will the climbers win, or will the time trialists win? The climbers have to be good time trialists. The time trialists have to be good climbers if they want to win Tirreno. So it's going to not boil down to that. And it's a shame they had to take the stage out, especially when, if you look at the footage, it seems as if the roads were passable. In the modern peloton, a lot of social media, a lot of gossip, a lot of back and forth, a lot of beefs playing out. And so I'm going to do a segment called, during the Broom Wagon, called Musette Musings. All right, everybody. Well, Peter Sagan not shaving his legs. This is what Stephen Roche had to say about that. Okay, so Peter Sagan shows up with hairy legs, and the Twitter sphere went crazy. Here's Stephen Roche, the father of Nico Roche and the uncle of Dan Martin, by the way, and winner of the Tour de France, Giro d'Italia, and World Championships back in 1987. When I was doing those races, here's what Stephen Roche had to say. In one sense, without creating a polemic about it, I don't think it's a good example. He's wearing the world champion's jersey, and he owes it to be respectful and to be clean and presentable. Okay, you might say, well, there is no law that says you have to shave your legs. But why then have we been doing it for the past 100 years? Is it because it doesn't look good? Well, I mean, there's so many things. Just because you do something for 100 years doesn't mean it's a good idea. So I would take exception to that. The Twitter sphere went absolutely ballistic on this, almost everybody weighing in. The American riders, the pro-American riders, invariably supporting Peter Sagan, and that has been typical ever since we started racing professionally over in Europe. And, you know, Peter Sagan, whenever, even waking up in the morning, it's a headline. Whatever he does is exciting. If we had another pros like Peter Sagan, the sport would be that much more popular. And if you are in the rainbow bands as champion of the world, I don't think you have to shave your legs anymore. One thing, if it makes the massage a little bit more difficult for the soigneur will ask you to shave your legs. But if Peter Sagan's people, his soigneurs, his masseuses don't mind, I say let your freak flag fly. Peter Sagan, hairy legs. Guys are wearing beards now in the peloton. That was an absolute no-no in my day. And to me, the beards are quite fetching. So if you don't want to shave your legs, feel free to leave the razors at home. All right, here is the Tinkoff and Jonathan Vaughters Twitter beef. This is the tweet that set Jonathan off by Oleg Tinkoff. Peter Sagan and Team Tinkoff won't win tomorrow's TTT near my villa. If not, I'm paraphrasing, I will stop sponsoring them and start Maria Sharapova. Oleg Tinkoff loves to scintillate the Twitter sphere. He loves saying polemic things. He loves to stir up the pot. This is what Vaughters responded. What sort of a jackass tries to undermine a sponsorship and create false uncertainty on Twitter? Oleg Tinkoff. That's who. So, you know, without getting into the relative merits of what Tinkoff is saying, maybe Tinkoff wants to remind people that he has a villa in Italy where Tirreno is transpiring and the team time trial was starting off, which was won, by the way, by BMC. And maybe he wants the team, including a man he pays a lot of money, Peter Sagan, to start winning more bike races. Winning bike races is not easy. Just ask Jonathan Vaughters. Just kidding. Cannondale's doing quite well that I've pointed out so far this season. But these are two team managers of two of the biggest teams in the world, and the insipid and puerile snipping at each other. And that to me is counterproductive. These are leaders in the sport. They're looked up to by the fans. They both are in charge of huge cycling teams with a massive budget that represent the sponsors, and not just the principal sponsors, but also all the equipment sponsors. So in my mind, a little bit more leadership, a little bit more adult behavior on Twitter would be much appreciated. The upside to this is that Cannondale came out and said, we are in until 2020, through 2020. So that's the good news about the little beef between Jonathan Vaughters and Oleg Tinkoff. And today's last segment, the tweet of the week. This coming to us from Race Radio, and Race Radio expounding on how thin the riders are and how the weight versus strength, the power versus weight ratio is being optimized in front of our eyes in professional cycling. And the riders getting so lean nowadays. So here's what Race Radio, when he weighed in, this is what he had to say. Who will be the first cycling reporter to write about the use of enemas prior to Grand Tours? And this is what TJ Van Garderen responded. You must need a lot of enemas, seeing how as you are so full of beep. So, TJ, you're my hero. Love that tweet. Race Radio, maybe bark up a different tree. That's it for the Broom Wagon this week. Comments, I'm going to use them all as much as I can. Suggestions, subscriptions, absolutely critical. And if you like these videos, a thumbs up. If you don't agree, please weigh in. We got a huge comment section. I'm going to read them all, and I'm happy to respond as long as they're in keeping with the spirit of reasonable language that our kids could read if they wanted to. Thanks a lot, everybody. And the main difference, though, is Lance never tested positive. And so, ask yourself this, if Maria Sharapova had not tested positive, would we be having these discussions?